Today we have
a very special guest. Quite special.
Quite very special.
Introduce yourself, please, special guest.
Hi, I'm Douglas Adams. I'm the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'll be here talking about my book with you.
He's not.
Also
Crazy.
He's Jesse Rothman, a veteran at causing societal chaos.
And that's why they've invited me here to review this book, which is very chaotic.
Right. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Let's begin.
By Douglas Adams.
Right.
Me.
No.
Yes.
Douglas Adams is not Jesse Rothman. But anyways. Alright. Ryan, you've been hearing a lot about me yapping about this book.
Yeah.
And telling you to read it. What did you feel about the book itself? Without reading any of it?
Well, listening to you guys ramble on about how weird this book is and how
Crazy.
the author must have, how he creates such creative subjects and how the plot goes from, I don't know, some bananas to something like intergalactic space travel. And then I also think that he makes this book, according to them, very funny, even though it goes on about random things and how Earth is a supercomputer and how a bunch of mice people want to understand the meaning of life somehow. And
No, the mice aren't the ones who want to understand.
Wait, then which ones are?
It's like
It's like these, who were they?
the 10th dimensional people.
10th dimensional
Something like
people.
that.
Or something like that, yeah.
What are the 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th dimensions?
Mice. All mice.
And
Dolphins.
too.
Rats.
Dolphins.
But anyways, how about you, Jesse? You read this book quite a long time ago. You're the one who, when you were telling me reading it, you were like,
This book is so good!
how did you feel about it?
Okay, so when I first read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the only thing that was on my mind was how
Crazy.
the author when they were writing this book, because the entire thing, in the words of Ryan, feels like a fever dream, right? The book starts off with a British man who likes tea a little too much for his health, living in his house, and his house is being cleared away for a bypass.
About to be demolished, to be precise.
5 minutes later, his planet is being cleared away for a bypass. And his friend brings him out into space and takes him onto a ship with aliens who have really bad poetry. And when they didn't like the poetry, they were thrown off the ship and to suffocate in space.
The thing is, poetry, it's a form of torture from the beginning. They know that poetry is terrible. That's why they read it to them.
Yep.
To punish them.
And then they threw them off the ship.
Oh yeah, I remember that as well.
And then
because they said the poetry is good. And
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
offended by that.
they threw them off the ship, and then before they asphyxiated in space, the next second a ship popped out of nowhere and saved them. So this book is very interesting, and I feel like it's chaotic in a way that shows exactly how creative the author Douglas Adams or me is, because the ideas that the author comes up with in the book seem
crazy.
Ridiculous when you explain it to someone. Like the meaning of life is for the number 42, or that mice are actually the smartest animals on the planet and dolphins are second.
And
but
humans only third.
when you read the book, it is written in such a way that makes you look at these dumb ideas and go oh my god, that
genius.
is brilliant.
That is Einstein. It is just so good and funny. And both Jesse and I have agreed that when we were reading this book,
We laughed out loud on multiple occasions.
have you ever done that before? Laugh out loud from reading a book?
Usually when there's humor in a book, you look at it and you smile a bit.
yeah.
No, this book,
It's
when Arthur
laugh out
Dent
loud.
was making his tea on the ship, and the ship blew up because he was making his tea for too long, I laughed out loud. And Jamie did too.
Yes.
Damn, I should. Am I allowed to say damn?
Sure.
Damn, I should have read.
But anyways, yeah, Ryan, you should really read this book as well. Ryan, you see, because of some procrastinating processes, he didn't get to read the entire book. He read the first couple chapters, aka the first
3 pages.
because each page is one chapter. But it's okay. We're all procrastinators.
So
It happens.
for those of you who don't know, in the book, there are a group of aliens who lived a long time ago who want to find out the meaning of the universe and why everything exists. So they do, and they make a computer, Deep Thought, which calculates it for billions and billions of years. And when it finally calculates it, it says 42. And everyone is really disappointed, right? So these aliens decide they're going to make a planet that's also a calculator, and that planet is Earth. So right before Earth is blown up and removed for the bypass, the answer was just about to be calculated, like the question to the answer 42.
Right.
So what happens later is the mice find this guy Arthur, right, who is a human and one of the last human alive. Well, one of the protagonists.
Arthur and Trillian.
Yeah, Arthur and Trillian.
And they both are humans, and this mice is like, "Hey Arthur, can I have your brain, please?" Because he wants the question to the answer.
Is
42
upon the human's brain.
So, and then when he says no, of course, the mice goes, well, Arthur, I can get you a new brain. All it needs is like to say T and some words a few times, and it's good enough for you. Like some of the things and the book ends abruptly when they just decide, after being pursued for a long time by intergalactic police or something for stealing the ship, just to go to a restaurant at the end of the universe and sit there for a bit. So this entire book, like again, in the words of Ryan, feels like a fever dream.
It's like a comical satire in a way. That's so good.
It's comical British satire, which, for some reason, is so stupid, yet it's so entertaining and it's so engaging. And when I was reading it, at the time it was during COVID, and I wasn't really interested in reading books that much, but I could not put it down. Partly because I was really bored, but also because of how
same.
Because of how fun the ideas of the book were. Like, if you were to read classic science fiction, you would be bored by it eventually. This book, every 5 seconds, you think, oh, the plot's gonna turn this way. Nope, he turns it around 360 degrees, and he goes sideways for some reason. Everything about
360 degrees.
And then sideways.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's confusing. It's Douglas Adams style.
So, the book is just so entertaining, yet so confusing, and so ridiculous, and just so whimsical.
It's like such a beautiful art, right? And I think one thing I like to mention about this book and regarding sci-fi is that most sci-fi series is like
serious
about science, right?
Yeah.
Like the movie Interstellar, it's like Christopher
very
Nolan
high science fiction,
Nobel Prize-winning physicist to like work on the scientific details.
And they include topics that are more inaccessible to a lot of people.
Yeah. Then what Douglas Adams does, it's still an inaccessible topics, right? But he just simply doesn't care.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in his world. Time, space, they're all just mushed up together. And like, basically anything is and everything and nothing is possible all at the same time.
Like, Jamie said this before we started recording, but I'm gonna just repeat it now because it makes sense. Douglas Adams wrote this book in a way that goes against every single science fiction book's traditional conventions in every single way possible. Another series that I'm very fond of is the 3 Body Problem series. That is a very high science fiction series. It skips and Foundation as well. Those 2 science fiction series are very, very high science fiction. There are a lot of concepts and there are a lot of ideas, and the plot is very intricate, and it is at times hard to understand. Douglas Adams takes that and says, no, we're not gonna have a final goal to our book. Our book is gonna end in a restaurant. No, I'm not going to say this character has to act this way or this narrative device has to be used. No, he just does what he does because he was crazy. Which is what makes his book so good so entertaining.
So it's like very untraditional, right?
Right.
It creates a lot of new like factors into a book. But is this like the first type of book that's ever been this crazy?
Douglas Adams actually got inspired by this book when he was drunk on a trip to Europe, and he was 18, and he was lying on the grass like staring at the skies, and he was holding a Hitchhiker's Guide, and then he was like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when he was drunk.
Yeah.
Ryan, tell us more about like the classical sci-fi books you normally typically see, in contrast to this amazing.
Leviathan Wakes.
I read that.
That was a sci-fi book, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was comparably like
very structured.
Yeah. And in some points it got a little bit boring, but it's still like both of them share the same aspect of like being sci-fi.
The closest book I've gotten to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one I've read very recently, Children of Time. So it's similar to this, not in a way of whimsical ideas and ridiculous things, but it's similar in the idea of we're not going to abide by the classical rules of what science fiction has to be.
I see.
I'm going to jump between this person's perspective and then the perspective of a bunch of ants on a hill somewhere. So
Wow.
it's not nearly as funny. It's not even, I don't think it was funny at all, but it wasn't nearly as funny or entertaining as Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like a 1 in a million book. There's nothing else quite like it. But it was similar in a way where it also broke the rules, and it also didn't follow the traditional like framework of a science fiction book.
I've never really read a book before where it's like super unstructured and it's like super comedic.
It was, I'd say the example I just gave was structured. It was the closest thing I could get to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it wasn't close at all, which kind of proves that Douglas Adams was either high or really a genius, because his book is something that's never been done before and likely never going to be done again in the future.
Ryan, what do you have to say? Except for
As someone who hasn't read the book before.
Yeah, as a person who hasn't read the book and has read like the first 3 pages, I think, well, first of all, I can summarize the book probably within 5 words. Wait, no.
He hasn't been taught well.
6 words.
You're gold.
He's in red.
Oh yeah, Miss Baldwin doesn't teach you. You have to count with your fingers.
Counting how
But
many
Miss
words.
Fraser is better.
Okay, anyway, what the hell is going on?
I'd agree.
Because like when I tried to
5-star
understand-
review.
When I tried to understand, I looked at like the spark notes, right? I want to look at the summary of the chapters, and I was like, what the hell? These little hyper intellectual beings want to understand like the meaning of life, and what the hell? Like dolphins and mice are the smartest animals on earth. What the hell is going on? And there's something about a clinically depressed robot that we thought was Trillian, but was not Trillian, and was actually
Marvin.
Marvin. Marvin is such a robotic sounding name.
The parent.
It's-
the parandroid. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like, it's mind blowing, and it makes me feel overwhelmed by like how many like weird things are going on.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy almost feels like a book where Douglas Adams went to a website, looked for a list of random words, and turned them into a story. But he did
Yes.
it in. But that's something like that. If your average person who isn't high on
Crazy.
tried to do, they would create a story that was unreadable, right? Like the story would be ridiculous, it wouldn't be entertaining, it would have no structure, even a little bit of structure, which every book needs, to it that would make you want to read it. Douglas Adams did this in such a way where, like Ryan said, when you look at the summary, it looks like, what is this book? I don't want to read this sitting on the toilet. I don't want to read this, right? But then when you do read it, you see it and you go, what? How is this good? Because the ideas and concepts that
Are
he
ridiculous.
uses- exactly, right? They make no sense. They seem like he came up with them when he was showering or something.
Yes.
Wait, I feel like
And he just mashed
the
them
book
together.
is just a bunch of shower thoughts.
Essentially it is, because like what else are shower thoughts but you on drugs?
Also, guys,
Intrusive.
Yeah.
just look at the titles of the 5 books in the series.
Yeah.
Number 1, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Number 2, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Number 3, Life, Universe, and Everything. Number 4, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish.
Oh yeah, I that one was really funny.
And number 5, Mostly Harmless. Like these are all like random phrases almost.
Now that you said the title, I remember that book now. That book was so funny.
The fourth book,
one,
yeah, it was really funny.
so funny.
The one with the dolphins.
Yeah.
And
I
also,
should read this book.
yeah, and also the part where
Serious.
it's like Arthur Dent becomes like a sandwich maker.
I do not remember.
Really?
I thought he'd become a tea maker.
No, and like he's praised as this like super duper. It's in the last book, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Super
I haven't
duper
read the
godly
last book.
divine sandwich maker.
At a point, I've had enough of all the BS, essentially, of his books, and even if it's good cake, you get bored of it because it's 5 books, and again, there isn't really a consistent plot, so there's no reason for me to keep going and reading the books except for I want to find out what the question to the answer 42 is, and because he never answered the question 4 books in, I got fed up.
No, he never questioned the answer 42. Not answered the question.
Yep, he never questioned. No, he never answered the question of what the question is for the answer of the biggest question.
Wait, what?
So he never answered the question of what the question is for the answer 42 of the biggest question.
The biggest question there is. What does it mean? Exactly. And that's like the essence of his books in its entirety. It's like, what? Right? But then,
Right,
that makes sense.
Oh my god.
But yeah. Is there anything else to add and talk about?
No. That's it
Wait,
for me.
you said they all died at the end.
Yeah, in the last one.
I thought they
But
were-
that's a spoiler, so.
Divine
Well,
sandwich.
cut that out.
Wait.
It was like this gigantic spider monster was like killed by the protagonist every single time he got reincarnated into the world. Like one time he was this like spider that got accidentally smashed by Arthur. And the other time, like in primitive times, it was like a rabbit that Arthur like caught and killed and ate for like dinner or something. And the other time, like
It's all Arthur? Like he was killed by Arthur?
yeah, and like he like despises Arthur for that. And like this other time, like at this place, like Arthur dodged the bullet and the bullet went into the guy's face and he died. And then but then the thing is, when like the guy was getting his revenge, like the bullet thing hadn't happened yet. So like now, like Arthur's stuck in this infinite time loop where he cannot die unless like he dodges a bullet and the bullet goes to the guy's face.
Who can't die?
Arthur can't die.
Oh. He has to make sure.
I thought he dies though.
Yeah, and he died at the
Everyone
bar,
dies.
like where he dodged a bullet. The guy died. And then I'm pretty sure it ended like, oh god, it's finally over. Because the Arthur guy was also getting fed up, you see. Of all the BS he had to like endure through, you know?
Because every time he would have a near-death experience.
Yeah. And also remember like it was funny when they visited the planet where it was like tourism stuff for God's last message for life.
Yeah.
And in burning letters it was like, we apologize for the inconvenience.
I believe that when he wrote the first book, and even when he wrote the first few words, he had no idea where he was going with the story, and he just kind of came up with it as he went, right?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Because the entire book it's threaded together very thinly. Like it's almost like 2 different people wrote each section of the book because there's no real plot or big mystery that goes through every single story, unlike basically every other sci-fi that there is, right? Foundation, there is the vault, right? For every single science fiction story that you read, there's always something that connects the books and the chapters. For this, it's just like what happened and it probably won't happen again, or it might happen again.
Yeah.
I think we better wrap this up.
Yeah.
In close to 20 minutes. And you don't want to sleep in the cruise show.
Honestly, there you have it. The
Yep.
craziness of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think you're beginning to see why we brought Jesse Rothman to this video.
Yeah.
Yeah, just look at my hair.
It's like perfect, isn't he? He is the next Douglas Adams.
Jewish Douglas.
No!